expand the offering of classes. Also, they can join the 5 to 7 a.m. For them will be 6 to 8. So it's not that bad.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Okay. If you get requests, though, I'm happy to put that group on the platform. So there could be Spanish translation. Okay, 6 o'clock. For the recording, welcome back. We are ACI practice module, the source of all my good, called the Lamrim Mandala. This is class 6, according to my notes. So let's gather our minds here as we usually do. Please bring your attention to your breath until you hear from me again. Now bring to mind that being who for you is a manifestation of ultimate love, ultimate compassion, ultimate wisdom. And see them appear there with you. They are gazing at you with their unconditional love for you, smiling at you with their holy great compassion. Their wisdom radiates from them. That beautiful golden glow encompassing you in its light. And then we hear them say, bring to mind someone you know who's hurting in some way. Think about how much you would like to be able to help them. And how the worldly ways we try fall short. How wonderful it would be if we could also help in some deep and ultimate way, a way through which they would go on to stop their distress forever. We are learning that this is possible. And so consider growing that wish into a longing. And maybe into an intention. And maybe even into a determination. Then turn your mind back to that precious holy guide. We know that they know what we need to know, what we need to learn, what we need to do to become one who can help this other in this deep and ultimate way. And so we ask them, please teach us that. And they are so happy that we've asked. Of course, they agree. Our gratitude arises. We want to offer them something exquisite. And so we think of the perfect world they are teaching us how to create. We imagine we can hold it in our hands, and we offer it to them, following it with our promise to practice what they teach us, using our refuge prayer. Here is the great earth, filled with fragrant incense and covered with a blanket of flowers. The great mountain, 4 lands, wearing the jewel of the sun and the moon. In my mind, I make them the paradise of a Buddha and offer it all to you. By this deed, may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kam Niryatayami. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may I reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may each of us reach Buddhahood for the sake of every living being. I go for refuge until I am enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the highest community. Through the merit that I do in sharing this class and the rest, may all beings reach their total awakening for the sake of every other. So relax and listen to our prayer, our text. The source of all my good is my kind Lama, my Lord. Bless me first to see that taking myself to you in the proper way is the very root of the path, and grant me then to serve and follow you with all my strength and reverence. Bless me first to realize that the excellent life of leisure I have found just this once is ever so hard to find and ever so valuable. Grant me then to wish, and never stop to wish, that I could take its essence night and day. My body and the life in it are as fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first, thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things I have done, the white or black, and what these deeds will bring to me, follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Grant me then ever to be careful, to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. Bless me to perceive all that's wrong with the seemingly good things of this life. I can never get enough of them. They cannot be trusted. They are the door to every pain I have. Grant me then to strive instead for the happiness of freedom. Grant that these pure thoughts may lead me to be watchful and to recall what I should be doing. Grant me to give the greatest care to make the vows of morality the essence of my practice. They are the root of the Buddha's teachings. I have slipped and fallen into the sea of this suffering life. Bless me to see that every living being, every one my own mother, has fallen into. Grant me then to practice the highest wish for enlightenment, to take upon myself the task of freeing them all. Bless me to see clearly that the wish itself is not enough. For if I am not well trained in the three moralities, I cannot become a Buddha. Grant me then a fierce resolve to master the vows for children of the victors. Grant that I may quickly gain the path where quietude and insight join together, one which quiets my mind from being distracted to wrong objects, the other which analyzes the perfect meaning in the correct way. Grant that once I have practiced well the paths shared and become a vessel that is worthy, I enter with perfect ease the way of the diamond, highest of all ways, holiest door to come inside for the fortunate and good. Bless me to know with genuine certainty that when I have entered thus, the cause that gives me both the attainments is keeping my pledges and vows most pure. Grant me that I may always keep them, even at the cost of my life. Bless me next to realize the crucial points of both the stages, the essence of the secret ways. Grant me then to practice as the Holy One has spoken, putting all my efforts in and never leaving off the practice of the 4 times highest that there is. Bless me, grant me, that the spiritual guide who shows me this good road and all my true companions in this quest live long and fruitful lives. Bless and grant me that the rain of obstacles, the things within me and outside me that could stop me now, stop and end forever. In all my lives, may I never live apart from my perfect lamas. May I bask in the glory of the Dharma. May I fulfill perfectly every good quality of every level and path, and reach then quickly the place where I become myself, the one who holds the diamond. So shift and wiggle and then settle back in. Let's do a review meditation. I will talk you through it. Get your body settled and solid so you can forget it. And choose to turn your focus to your breath. Try to tune up your state of mind to an eagerness to hear what's coming. Use an eagerness in focusing on that breath. Now purposely turn your focus of attention onto my words. Sorry. And allow your movie to begin to play. Find yourself in that beautiful courtyard. You are a being with a body of rainbow light, the result of countless kindnesses, the result of love. An omniscient mind, a result of infinite compassion, infused with wisdom. Here in this exquisite courtyard, created by your virtues, and spontaneously emanating countlessly to all beings, whatever they need to awaken to their true nature. without leaving that space, a part of you will walk back through those experiences through which you transformed. We completed our completion stage practices, physical and mental practices, guided by that qualified teacher. That room in which we work with our subtle body, our thoughts, to clean and straighten that plumbing, to clean and straighten our beliefs, our thoughts, our words, our actions. Those practices were only functional, only successful by way of the goodness we made in those practices of the 4 times. Doing our solitary retreats in those 4 special times of day in order to make our body, our mind fit for the work that was needed to be done, for that transformation to be complete. And it took great goodness to be able to do those 4 retreats. And we gathered that goodness through our work both on and off our cushion, in which our teacher shared with us practices for coming to see others as angels helping us, no matter what it appeared to be. The creation stage practice, where at first everybody looks ordinary, but we work with our mind, we work with our love, we work with our compassion. And first we see, strange synchronicities, little glimpses of magic. And that magic grows less until we are spontaneously seeing, knowing that we are surrounded by beings trying to help us reach our ultimate happiness. And our success in those efforts came from having worked with our vows. That is the practice of creation stage. upholding our 3 sets of vows, and most especially that highest set of vows, the diamond way vows. And of course, to reach those practices, we had to have been granted those vows, granted the entry into the diamond way practices. And we relied upon our precious diamond way master to open that door for us. We received our 4 initiations, and with it, our commitments, our practices, our guideline of vows. And in order to receive those, we had prepared ourselves in the steps shared, particularly growing our goodness through our efforts in practicing the 6 perfections, growing our bodhicitta, our wish to reach total enlightenment for the sake of all living beings, and growing our determination to perceive, to experience ultimate reality, so that our behaviors can, in fact, become causes for our Buddhahood, so that we can, in fact, help others reach that same state. Recall the incense burner infusing us with bodhicitta. It's not doing it. It reminds us of our own infusing ourselves with our bodhicitta, our wish. And as we grow the goodness of our efforts in the 6th perfection, that goodness helps our bodhicitta grow stronger. And that helps our efforts in the 6 perfections grow stronger. And that helps our bodhicitta grow stronger. And so recall those 6 perfections, the first 4, practicing giving, the 4 kinds, practicing moral discipline, the basic 10, broken out into all of our vows, not getting angry, having fun, working with our new behavior, applying ourselves to growing our ability to meditate deeply, growing our intellectual understanding of emptiness, growing our ability to peer into it more and more directly, gathering more and more goodness. As we practice within this room of our bodhisattva vows. And this wish to reach our total enlightenment for the sake of all others grew out of our recognition that it is true, in fact, that our own behavior creates our own circumstances, and that by changing our behavior from selfishness to kindness, we were able to grow our own happiness and decreasing suffering. And at some point, we recognized, well, then it must be true for everyone. And I won't be happy really until I see every being happy. It takes some personal experience that it's possible. And we gain that experience by our efforts in the mirror room. Our training in karma, the law of cause and effect, really meaning the explanation of how our own behavior influences our own awareness, such that that awareness experiences similar things in the future. And at first it seemed overwhelmingly complicated. We thought we could barely move without breaking something, damaging something. But as we practiced, as we taught ourselves to be more and more kind, we found that it became easier and easier to move through those complications of life, making different choices than the automatic, ignorant reaction. And we actually reached a point where the challenge was enjoyable. And as we saw changes happen, even if they were seems like little ones, at some point we became convinced and that's when our heart begins to open to wanting to share what you are so sure is an effective method for stopping distress, that you want to share it with others. And to even get to this place of willingness to work with our own behavior on such a detailed level we first had to become convinced of our need to do so. And we gained that clarity by way of learning and recognizing the three kinds of suffering. Obvious suffering didn't require any learning. The suffering of change and pervasive suffering helped us to recognize that nothing can go right in this world we call samsara, a world where things happen to us. Nothing can ever go the way we want it to. And when we hear a message that gives us a glimmer of hope that that does not have to be the case, that's what helps us open the door to working with our own behavior. We came to some level of renunciation. I want to stop this cycle. I'm willing to change to be able to stop this cycle. Without that conclusion, the hallway of the three sufferings won't even have a door out. Think to yourself, this self, I understand a little bit about karma and emptiness. I understand a little bit about the nature of suffering, of the nature of where happiness really comes from. And so I want to change. Even if that's just a glimmer in your heart, think of what a powerful movement of the mind that is. I want to change. I'm willing to change. And so dedicate that goodness to being successful in your efforts to change, so that everyone who ever knows you can be uplifted as well. And then bring your attention back to your body in your current room. Wiggle your fingers, take in a deep breath, blow it out. Open your eyes, take a stretch. And I apologize, I did that without doing the preliminaries. Don't ever do your meditation without the preliminaries. Sarahni. Those listening to the recording. So eager for you to be in the courtyard. Okay, but don't do that. Really, I apologize. So tonight's class is how did we get to going into that hallway of the three sufferings? Like, who wants to do that? Something must have led us there, that we'd be willing to open that door, to look into our suffering in greater detail. So what brings us there, they call it, they say, is the step shared, the steps of the path shared with those of lesser capacity. So we spoke of medium capacity, which was, we didn't speak much about it, but that's the working with our own behavior to reach the end of our own distress forever, reaching nirvana. Which could be our goal, or could could be a side benefit on our way to our goal. If our goal is total Buddhahood, which would make us on the Mahayana, the path of the great vehicle, sutra or secret way, regardless of what level our motivation is, we still are, the process of seeds planting is founded upon the seeds that we break and make at the level of the beginning practitioners, the lesser capacity practitioner. So it's not that we skip grades, because in this life we have seeds for the greater capacity. It's that we go back and stir up those seeds from past lives' efforts, practice them with a deeper intention so that we can help others in deeper ways, and so that our efforts on the Mahayana can in fact be successful. Just because we have seeds to be attracted to the higher capacity, we don't know how many of those seeds we have. We could use them up and then somehow at some point go, what was I thinking? Buddhahood? Oh, right? And we don't want that. So it's as if we start from the beginning, but we're not starting from the beginning because we have a greater intention. The tendency, though, is to like disrespect them a little bit, which is why there are refuge advices and bodhisattva vows to not do that. Okay. So the beginners on the path, there's two ways in which they're called lesser capacity, beginner's capacity. One is that their focus for their personal practice is to close the doors to a lesser rebirth, which we would have to be reasonably certain that there is such a thing for our spiritual life and practices to be dedicated to not letting that happen. So again, not a stage to disrespect if we've grown up in cultures that says, those things don't exist. Geshe-la says, hell is out of fashion. Yeah. Hungry ghosts, I never heard of one growing up in the United States. You know, pleasure beings and worldly gods, they were those Greek things, right? All myth, not real. Yeah, now I kind of think differently. But the other meaning of lesser capacity is that when they hear the pen and the dog thing, the ramification that they come to is, yeah, the pen relies on its causes from the pen factory. The pen relies upon its parts. And that's enough for them to say, that's emptiness and dependent origination. Nothing exists without depending on something else. Its parts, its causes. But the idea that it depends upon my past behavior is like, you know, and I know the punchline. But in terms of a logical sequence of getting to why I see pen because I gave pens before, there's a big gap still in that aha, right? I believe it, I've proved it, but I haven't connected the dot directly for myself yet. And until I do, there's this little doubt. There's this little, some piece missing. So it's important for Mahayanas to still go and look at, is it possible that I could find myself in a lesser rebirth? And if we don't entertain the possibility, we won't really have us resolve a fear even, right, to avoid it. And there's a necessary fear factor. Like, I hesitate to teach it in a introductory class because we're trying to avoid suffering, not think about it more. And especially, we don't want to think about fear. And here early on, Buddha is teaching, look, you know, humans have the perfect opportunity to understand this stuff and make choices about their behavior. There's no other realm that can do that. And we don't know how long it's going to last. Right? We don't know how long any given life lasts. And are we sure we'll get another human one? And again, in modern society, you know, even if we study spiritual things, the ones I've studied, they all say once your soul reaches human, It can't go back. And this particular tradition says, don't be silly. Okay. Not only can it go back, it's very likely to go back. When we understand where our reality really comes from. So when we talk about gaining realizations along our path, it means we have some experience that makes something real for us that wasn't before. Something that we now know to be true beyond a shadow of a doubt. And one of these realizations that is foundational is this realization of how possible it is to, in a matter of moments, find yourself on fire, frozen, being crushed again and again and again, hungry beyond belief, jealous beyond control of behavior, right? All these weird situations. So the verse of the prayer that we're talking about is the one that says, my body and the life in it are as fleeting as the bubbles in the sea froth of a wave. Bless me first thus to recall the death that will destroy me soon, and help me find sure knowledge that after I have died, the things I have done, the white or black, and what these deeds will bring to me, follow always close behind, as certain as my shadow. Once we have this realization, then our next request is grant me then ever to be careful to stop the slightest wrong of the many wrongs we do, and try to carry out instead each and every good of the many that we may. And that moves us into that hall of the three sufferings, that moves us into the mirror room, the karma room. So in this analogy of the rooms, it's not so much that you don't move on from this room about my death and lower rebirth until you gain that realization. We learn about it. We learn about the three sufferings. We learn about karma and emptiness. We try it on for size, right? So in practicality, there's a part of us that's always in each room before the initiation room, because we're working with all of them at once, focusing on the one that we're in training about, but not to the exclusion of all the rest. It's a beautiful system. And if you've been following the Lamrim, Paboka Rinpoche's Lamrim, at some point he said, look, if you're going to grow a peach tree and an avocado tree and an orange tree in your yard, you don't plant the peach tree and wait until it's mature and giving peaches before you plant the avocado. You plant all three together and you cultivate them together, right? And in this analogy, it's like by cultivating all three levels of practice, even within the open way, there's three levels, that it's a synergy. Which is why we're looking at this whole big picture before you step into the foundational study, because it's going to go step by step. And it's helpful to know where you're going from the get-go. It helps keep us motivated, and recognizing how we're working at all the levels at the same time, which is so beautiful how Geshe Michael shared this all with us in that way. So to understand what this verse is saying, we need to understand a bit about life and death and what happens next, the process of all of that. And if we truly believe that there is no what happens next, then there's no need to learn all of this stuff. No, if we believe that at death, our body, our mind just stops and we're done, then none of these practices, none of them can be effective fast enough, right, to make sense, if that's our belief. And it used to be my belief until I was like in my 30s. I believed that material reality, because I could confirm it with my senses, was what was real, is real, and all that other stuff, the woo-woo stuff, you know, that not reality. And then I had a personal experience where a material thing did something that it could not do if my reality was correct about material reality. And in a matter of minutes, my belief in material reality as the reality was shattered. I've told you that before. And I had nothing to fall back on. The people I would have turned to for guidance, like they just had an accident, and that's what precipitated this event. So they weren't there for me either. And it's like, ah. And the end result is me here now, sharing this with others. So, you know, the worst thing that happened to me in life is the best thing that happened, because without that, I presume I would still be happily, right, believing in material reality. Somewhere along that path, it like, why does it take some kind of horrible pain to wake up? I don't want that. I don't want that for other people. There must be a way that people can wake up without, you know, having to, you know, go through something terrible. And it's a long story, whether that's true or not. But it motivated me. And I kept looking until I found a path that, right, that my seeds ripened as, oh, this is for me. But it took $5 years to find it, and 5 more to find Geshe Michael's explanation of it, and then 20 more to work with it before I was, anyway. So one thing to do is to check, do you believe that there is a part of you, something about living beings that goes on after death? It doesn't matter what we call it. So it's something to ask yourself. Now, I'm going to assume that we're here because we're here. We do believe in something. right? That maybe we already have some belief in past, future lives. The ACI course sets out to prove it to us, but it's, we need to gain our own realization of that. We're not going to do it in this class. I'm suggesting you look inside and how do you feel about that question? And then, of course, it's going to say, well, if something does go on, what? And I am going to address that a little bit. Let's take a break and we'll get into what this tradition explains happens at the moment of death that makes a lesser rebirth possible.
Sarahni, can I ask you a question?
Yes. Where are you?
I am in Germany.
Yes. And on my screen, you're down there, across and down.
Since last class that you were telling or more detail about this, that to start this path, to go into this bodhisattva vows, we should experience something extremely painful that drive us into this path. But what if we don't, or we haven't? And then I have been thinking, like, is it wrong to go into the path if you don't have the renunciation?
No.
And you don't have any like kind of extreme experience like you had, for example, or Geshe Michael had with his family? I don't know, I have been like kind of cooking on that, like maybe I went into the path too fast.
Yeah.
Before having this renunciation,
Right.
or this awareness of the three sufferings so strong. Can you maybe comment on that?
Yes. These teachings don't mean that until you have some terrible trauma, you won't be able to progress in these teachings. Renunciation, as we'll learn what that means, it has these many different levels. And it's a basic dissatisfaction with our disappointments in life. And we get when we have, a major event, we have this glaring experience of disappointments in life that may or may not affect us in the sense of, wanting to say, I don't want that to ever happen to anybody. But it could be just constant little ones that when we hear a teaching that says, look, these aren't coming from what you think, there can be an end to them, that our seeds from before go, oh, that's exactly what I needed to hear. Technically, it isn't possible that you can get into these teachings sooner than you're ready because it's coming from your own seeds. But it is possible to get in and either not see change, like have an expectation that I'm going to see change right away, and then fall back into our usual discontent, or see change so fast that the change is actually negative. And I've had students say, I'm doing the 4 powers, I'm keeping my book, and shit just keeps happening in my life and I can't keep doing it. It's too much. And they're like, yeah, you're moving a little too fast, but not, right? So close. to stepping through the doorway to nirvana, technically. But do you see? So the whole seeds thing is so layered with the combination of goodness and selfishness, right? That for any one of us, it's impossible for a non-omniscient being to say, oh, this is where you're on the path, just, just 10 more negative incidences and you're on your way. I wish, right? Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. So no, you don't have to have a big smash up before you can get your renunciation. It might help, but you don't have to. I understand that Lord Buddha didn't really go through the serious suffering personally. Yes, he did. 3 countless eons of suffering after he got bodhicitta. Before that, endless suffering. Okay, are we back? Good, yes, okay. So there's another practice module. Called Death and the End of Death. One of my favorite things to teach, actually. It'll come towards the end of next year, probably, if we continue. And it goes into the details of the principles of death and death awareness. And we use it to grow a healthy concern for how our behavior now imprints our mind that influences our future experiences. So remember the pen. The puppy sees chew toy. We see pen. That tells us automatically that our perception of that object identifies the object for us. The other's perception of the object identifies it for them, not the object identifying itself for us. And when we ask, well, why? We're told the punchline. You made imprints in your mind for sharing a writing utensil with something we call pen now in the past. To see yourself do that influences your mind in such a way that carries on until it reaches some threshold. And I need a pen. And bingo. Right? From having given one, I have a lot. And they say, and so how we respond in any given interaction with other is influencing our mind such that when that influence crosses the threshold to appearance, we experience something similar to what we saw ourselves do to and for another. And that means that when we perceive and interpret, they are doing that to me. Yelling boss is hurting me. It's our mind imprints from having been the one to be who or what the other was seeing them doing that to me. It comes back as them yelling at me. Our natural reaction for some crazy ignorant reason is to yell at them, criticize them, lie to them, to get them to stop making me unpleasant, right, by yelling at me. Our very response to them, reaction to them, we see ourselves doing it. That's going to come back as another situation similar to the one we did in response to their yelling. And so we've learned the punchline. Unpleasant happening, respond in a way that when that comes back to you, it will not be unpleasant. Yeah, the basis of seed planting, do unto others as you want done unto you. Okay? Very basic wisdom within humanity. And then remember, there's a delay between the imprints we make as we perceive ourselves interacting with other, and when that imprint crosses the threshold to its result. There's such a delay, in fact, that it's almost impossible to see the connection. It takes an omniscient being to see directly what I did to make this blue pen now for me. We can learn the principle and the correlations well enough to work with it. But the actual details of karma requires omniscience to perceive. So we can think of our minds as being full of these mental imprint seeds from past behaviors. And those seeds are waiting for their time, right? There are seeds ripening every moment. There are seeds being planted every moment. And they grow while they're waiting. So we'll never run out of seeds, right? 65 out, 65 in, and the 65 grow while they're waiting. So we'll never run out of seeds. what goes in is gonna come out. That explanation is not technically accurate, but it's a helpful idea to work with until we can recognize it more accurately. It tells us that any pleasant experience we have is a result of somehow being kind to another because it was pleasant for them. Any unpleasantness that we experience has to be a result of some way in which we were unkind to another. Unkindness is propelled by selfishness. Kindness can be propelled by a certain amount of selfishness as well, which is why when it ripens as pleasure, it wears out. So our experience of dying from this life will be a series of ripening results in which our perception of our familiar reality is withdrawing, dissolving away. If we're not well trained, it's likely to be scary. It will seem like what is ending is your body and your personality. It is ending. Your body and your personality is ending. And if we aren't well trained, that's terrifying. Because it leads to an unknown, of course. But the awareing mind, the seeds ripening, planting happening, awareing happening, never stops, never ceases. So although there'll be a last moment of the projection, Sarahni and Sarahni's world, there'll be a next 65 seeds in the next instant. There'll be a next seed. And that seed colors the whole next reality. And the seeds that follow hot on its heels fill in the details of that reality. So what happens at death becomes like a numbers game. We don't have control over what seed opens anywhere along the line until we are very, very highly evolved. We don't have control over the seed that ripens. So especially as we're going through the chaos of ourselves dissolving, we don't have control over what's going to open at the next instant. And in fact, if we are experiencing chaos, fear, anger, as we go through that process, those experiences, like, actually, you could say attract or, vibrate forth a seed that will color our next experiences. So if we have a lot of angry, harmfulness, hurting others seeds in our mind, say we have like 90% of those and 10% kindness seeds from this life and every past life. the likelihood of a seed born of selfishness, unkindness, the likelihood of one of those popping is just greater than the likelihood of an unselfish seed popping at the moment of death, just because of numbers. Which means our conclusion would be, well, no doubt I have lots of selfishness seeds, anger, jealousy, ignorant liking, disliking, not sharing, pride, go through the list. And I have some kindness seeds. Is there something I can do, right, to damage or neutralize those negative ones? Is there something I can do to make more positive ones so that I can be better assured I have a greater possibility of a good seed popping at the moment of death? And that's the whole process of the beginning level practices, is learning how to clean our past negative seeds, and create new white seeds, even if they're not quite wisdom seeds yet, so that we can fill that mind space with more positive than negative, that increases the chances of a good seed ripening at the moment of death over a bad seed. So this tradition says, if a seed from being violently angry with someone pops at the moment of death, that colors our experience into a whole hell realm. If a seed about stinginess, my stuff, keep it for me, pops, that colors the realm called hungry ghost. There can even be, there are many seeds for ripening as animal, and then seeds that ripen as what are called worldly God, where they're seeds of goodness, but wrongly motivated, such that they create a long life of great pleasure, but you don't know to share it. You don't know to perpetuate it. So within the desire realm, realities, the only rebirth we would want is a human one, they say, because as a human, we have just enough suffering and just enough pleasure and the ability to choose our morality, which no other reality within samsara, no other being has. This ability to learn and choose morality. And it's a long story as why, but it's not because somebody decreed it. It's because of the seeds that make that reality. And again, we'll learn more if you study with us. Right. So this is what's meant in that verse by the black and white seeds. The black seeds mean the seeds of my selfish, negative, ugly behaviors, gross ones and subtle ones. The white deeds are all those kindnesses and goodnesses that we've all done. Okay? You've taken care of your children. You've taken care of your cat. Right? We take care of people all the time. We have lots of goodnesses from past lives and this life. So don't sell yourself short. But the black and white seeds idea is what the beginning practitioners work with. They say, well, I want to make as many white seeds as I can. I want to make as few new black seeds. And I want to learn to damage what black seeds I have and grow what white seeds I have. And so the teacher, we haven't talked about the teacher yet, is the one who helps that practitioner understand what practices to do. And they're basically the avoiding harming others. So using those 10 non-virtues to avoid, and then more specifically, the ordination vows, 5 lifetime layperson vows, and learning how to do the purification practices to clean, damage the black seeds that we have. We can damage those black seeds such that they either ripen earlier as less terrible than they otherwise would. We can damage them such that they can never fully ripen, but they still influence our ignorance. We can clear them completely, they say, with our practices. We can work at this level to the extent where we, in fact, damage those black seeds enough that they can't go off into a mental affliction. And that's what we mean by the state of nirvana, reaching nirvana, which is what the medium capacity practitioner's goal is. So medium capacity comes through beginning capacity, of course, and highest capacity also comes through both of those beginning capacities. So this room, it's actually the first room into this building, which doesn't look like a round building yet. It's just one long thing, right? There's another long thing. I don't know how it ends up a courtyard, to be honest with you. But here's the entry into this series of rooms that leads to the courtyard. Geshe says, think of it as a triangular room. It's the smallest of all these rooms that we've had so far. There's a beautiful door, the outside door to this building. He called it yellow. I don't know why quite. And we're at the apex of the triangle when we're going to step in that door. So it spreads out and its wide base, whatever you call that, has a door that leads into the, what room did we just come out of? The 3 hallways, the suffering hallways. So when you first step into this room, it has to do with this verse about my body and the life in it is as fleeting as the bubbles in a sea froth of a wave. The principles of the death awareness is my death is certain. The time of my death is uncertain. And when I die, nothing but my karmic seeds go with me. And so nothing but the Dharma, my practice of what seeds to plant and what seeds not to plant, is helpful in life. When we understand this thing about black seeds and white seeds, and we think, gads, I have so many black seeds. You know, maybe they're mostly gray, but still, they're perpetuate suffering seeds that if I die tomorrow, and I don't know for sure I won't, I am just stuck. What can help me? You know, like, help. And that's refuge. So part of this verse about black and white seeds and going on is our doorway into what's called refuge. In Buddhism, it's called refuge in the three jewels. Buddha jewel, Dharma jewel, Sangha jewel. We will learn a lot about what those terms mean. It's much more subtle than we might think. Our refuge starts out in words. It starts out in a past seeds connection to the idea. It isn't full on until we get this clear realization that I could die at any moment. And when I do, I have no clue what could happen next. And assuming that I'm going to get another human life as good as this one is naive. Because have I been kind enough in enough moments to create a life where my needs have always been met? Have I met others' needs that much? Yeah, and I don't mean, to be a Debbie Downer, but I need to be at this point. Because without that sense of, egads, I need help from somebody who knows, and somebody who will, and somebody who can help me. And it's a long story how Buddha, who's not even embodied, can help me now. How the Dharma, which is, Sarahni yakking for 2 hours, can help me now. And how the Sangha can help me now when they all live in Sedona. It's like, how does this really work? So we need to make the connection. So this room, to help us remember about this step in the Lum Rim, is this triangle. And when you first step in, the first thing you encounter is a coffin with its lid open. Guess who's inside that coffin? Your buddy, laying there dead. If and when you're working with these visualizations, check that out. Do you really believe it's going to happen? Is it going to be a scary thing? What do you think happens? We don't know. But go on, because inside that coffin, on the right side of the body is all these black yucky things, dead bugs, clods of dirt, I don't know, black yucky things. And on the left side along the body are all these beautiful jewels, pearls, diamonds, rubies, topaz. The black yucky things represent, guess what? Our black seeds, our selfishness seeds, our harming others seeds, The jewels represent our kindnesses, our growing wisdoms. And so between now and next class, spend a little time staring into that coffin and think about what that black yuck represents for you. Like, be willing to even like pick it up and look at it. Whoa, this whopping dead roach represents my willingness to put my dog down, you know, when she had that stroke, instead of taking the time to let her pass naturally. Okay, and then take another one. Oh, all of these are all those times I teased my little sister. This one, right? Just do a life review. We can even get sophisticated. This is what I see in my immediate world. People blaming each other for this and that, the other. Get here. Well, put that in there too. So we're gathering this yuck out of the coffin. And when you've got a nice big handful, you look and you see beyond the coffin in the right-hand corner of the room, there's a fire in a fire pit, a safe fire. And you take this yuck, take it over to the fire, throw it in, and see it burn up. You know, well, someday we'll do this little fire puja with the black sesame seeds. You throw it all in and they pop, 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 pop. It's so satisfying. You hear them pop. Then just think, great, I've burnt those seeds off. Then go back to the coffin. Look at the jewels and scoop those jewels up. Wow, I have been kind. Wow, my world is really so abundant. Maybe it wasn't this life me, but past life me must have been amazing. You know, maybe not one life, but a little bit here and a little bit there. And, you know, maybe I was that lioness who took care of the goat baby. And here's some jewels. Take those jewels and like rejoice like crazy for all the goodness you see in your world because you made it. And then you look up in the other corner of the triangle, you see a red robe like hanging on a pole, like made out of silk, so beautiful. And you know it fits you perfectly, it's for you. And you take this handful of jewels, you go to this robe and you like the jewels, and the jewels go down onto this robe and they become embedded in the fabric. So now it's all sparkly and beautiful, all your goodness. And then, you know, you're going to end up having your lama in there with you. They're going to take that robe, right, and help you step into it. And the putting on the robe represents the taking refuge. It represents, I now have the protection of my understanding of karma and emptiness, my understanding that somebody used that truth to live by until they themselves reached their Buddhahood. And so they are compelled to teach others to do it. I am one of those others. And they send forth teachers, co-students to help me be successful. And so we have this beautiful robe that represents our refuge. call it a Holocaust cloak, you know, Princess Bride. Impenetrable. This beautiful silk robe protects us from anything by way of reminding us how we act is where we create our future experience. The refuge cloak will not stop a speeding bullet. It will stop our fear of the speeding bullet. It will turn the speeding bullet into an opportunity for next life. Okay? Buddhahood coming up. It sounds impossible, but that's the only way refuge protects us, is by guiding us in our behavior choices moment by moment. And when we have this robe embedded with the jewels of wisdom, the jewels of the 6 perfections, the jewels of your tantric vows, which is what they will be someday, right? We are protected. So our question is going to be, how do I get there? How do I get in that room? Now, technically, the door won't open ourselves. If we're the ones standing outside that building and we've got our hand on the doorknob, it's like, it won't open. Something, somebody. We need something else. Right? Is it impossible for us to open it itself? No. Is it likely? Apparently not. So there's somebody who we can say has the key to this door. Although, I'll share a story once that Lama Christie shared with us from early in her career. She and Geshe Michael were going to a room that they rented for their dance practice, and they were rushing there. And so she went ahead of him to open the door, and she found it to be locked. She couldn't get it undone, and they didn't have the key. So she's saying, "Oh, I'm so sorry, I forgot the key. We can't get in for class." And he reaches over and he turns the knob and the door opens. And it's like she used it as a sign about following your lama, right? She had a different reason for telling this story, but it's like the door wasn't even locked. It just wouldn't open for her. It was for her to follow instead of lead. So the reason I'm using it is like, this door isn't locked. But if we can't open it ourselves, don't abandon it. Like, I'm at next class, we're gonna come from somewhere else to meet ourselves there, standing at that door going, let me in, let me in, let me in. Okay, and then something will happen to open the door. So be in it for the next few days and check out that you in the coffin and the yuck seeds and the good seeds. Spend more time on the jewels than on the yuck, because our tendency is to do the opposite. And the way you do the jewels is think of what you see in your world that's good and recognize those are your good seeds making that. Right? But take that black stuff and throw it in the fire. And then put on that protection robe of your refuge and then step forward into the hall of the three sufferings. Because now we see our me with obvious suffering right outside the window, but our me inside says, no, but now I have refuge. Now I know how to behave in the face of that unpleasantness that will help burn it off and create better for myself and everybody someday. And then move to the suffering of change. If pleasant things wear off and leaves us wanting for more, and now I have refuge. My refuge tells me, I want to share pleasant things because that's where pleasant things come from. And yes, a pleasant thing will still wear out, but knowing I shared it, I know I've made more pleasantness. So if we know the pleasantness doesn't come from the piece of pumpkin pie, it comes from sharing pumpkin pie. We share the pumpkin pie, and then our last bite of the pumpkin pie, although the pumpkin pie ends, our pleasure doesn't have to end because we know we've made more pumpkin pie pleasure for the future. We can reach a state of mind that's just pleasure no matter what. Because really, our pleasure is not related to what's happening in the moment. Our displeasure is not related to what's happening in the moment. And that's really, really hard to understand and live by. And then the pervasive suffering, same thing. How does our refuge influence our response to recognizing pervasive suffering? Right? We have the tools to work with it. We have the tools to stop perpetuating it. And we'll at some point say, wow, what do I have to do? Right, step into that mirror room. Huh? And then, wow, Lama, these prayers really work. Let's use it to help others. Step into the Bodhisattva room. Do you see how it goes? It just builds our own natural sequence. Will be, what comes next. It'll occur to us. And then there's the next Lamrim to be taught by the Lama. So Luisa, you have your hand up.
Yeah, sorry, just to understand with this grabbing the jack, the black things so I see myself lying in the coffin.
Yeah.
I don't know how to say that word.
Yeah, coffin.
But then who is taking the things? Is this me who has the eyes closed in meditation, or who is the me who is taking the things? Or I stand up from the coffin and then
No. Dead you stays dead. Dead body stays dead. You is, I don't know. You is.
This is where I struggle. If I imagine another me, like I am watching a movie, or is this me
No.
who is sitting now meditating?
Yeah, be a you. Oh, give yourself like a ghost you, not ghost bad thing, but some ephemeral kind of looks like you, but not Luisa, this Luisa, maybe a shining light or a fairy-like thing. Gotta take a different identity. No, that's not the right word. Take a different form that you, the awareness that we call Luisa, is what takes the black and throws it out and takes the gems. Okay. Yeah, it's
So
not quite future, Natalia.
My basic awareness.
Yeah, your basic awareness.
Like that one that doesn't disappear when I die.
Right, that one.
Okay.
That one.
Thank you.
Yeah, that one that doesn't disappear when you die. Thanks. That's a good question. Okay. So the new room that we got is triangular, right? It's got the coffin, dead body you, black yuck, gems, fire in one corner, your refuge robe waiting for you in the other corner. Right? All of this about recognizing my impermanence and how what does go on are the mental imprints that I have made in this immediate life and every one that's still left unripened from every lifetime before, which is why it's necessary to believe in past and future lifetimes for the power of these teachings. I'm not saying believe because I say you have to, but entertain the idea that it's helpful to understand that your mind stream carries on. Your mind stream is this process of imprints and outputs happening constantly. And try to get a sense of I need help. I need protection. I need somebody to help me here. And then move on through. Because we're going to meet the one who appears in order to help us in our next class. Okay, so we have a few minutes. If there are questions, clarifications, anything you want spoken of to help you work with this until Monday, we have a few minutes. Otherwise, we'll finish up. Anything going once, going twice? Yeah, Choi.
Yeah, I still have some question on the renunciation we discussed just now. Lisa brought up, and actually in our discussion, it sometimes people is asking, is it we must go through a very bad situation? We only will end up with renunciation. Because then people are saying that Buddha in the life in 2,500 years ago, he is a prince. He didn't go through this, but he aware of this when he sees the outside world. But you are saying that it might be before the past life, he go through a very bad situation, which we also heard, and he had the renunciation. Then this means that the people now, they might not necessarily go through a very bad situation this life. They have that renunciation. He got the renunciation. He entered into a different practice. Is it can happen because they go through this in the past life?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a good explanation.
Okay.
You could say that Prince Siddhartha, his
Yes.
life was so good that to see a sick person was shocking.
Yes.
To see a dead person was as shocking to him as to see my mother's gold nugget show up in my bathroom to me.
Yes.
So it's like, can we say he didn't have a shocking trauma as Prince Siddhartha?
Yeah. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
For
Because
each
we
of us,
use
it's different.
Yes, because we usually use Captain Michael's story. When
Yeah.
when he is Princeton, he had to go through a very bad situation in the family, a mother and brother. That's why a kind of renunciation she ended up. But for most of people, they cannot remember and they don't know when this thing will happen.
Right. And it's okay. Yeah, it's
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That with renunciation, there are many, many levels that we work with renunciation. Yeah.
Okay.
And once we're on the path, it's not like you have to go back and get your butt kicked in order to really get renunciation, right? Then we
Okay.
work with our renunciation on more and more subtle levels.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Thanks. Veronica.
Hi, Lama Sarahni. I want to ask the question about the mandana prayer. Because you were saying that we have to wish and then longing and then have intention and then we have determination. But I was confusing about the wishing and longing. I feel they are kind of same to me.
Yeah, that's okay. So, sometimes to me, the wish just is, oh, I wish I could do that. And then I go eat lunch. Longing is more heartfelt. Oh, like, Mom, I really, really, really want a puppy. Can't I have a puppy? That's longing versus, Mom, I want a puppy. Yeah, just a little more heartfelt. That's why I go step by step, right? I think you're automatically heartfelt. You don't need it. Yeah. But then intention to determination, right? Intention is, yes, I will do it someday. Determination is, right, I'm on it. I won't give up till I'm done.
Thank you. That's helpful.
Yeah. Lisa.
Sorry, another technicality about the meditation. The triangle room is with the pointing like towards the three sufferings room, or the other way around?
The other way around. The point sticks out the building.
It's like the entrance to the
The
building.
entrance to the building is the point. I don't know why he does it that way.
I guess it's because if you have the fire and the
Yeah.
rope, then it makes more sense that you continue.
Yeah.
But okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else? Okay. So remember that person we wanted to be able to help at the beginning of class. We've learned a lot that we will use sooner or later to help them in that deep and ultimate way. And that's an extraordinary goodness. So please be happy with yourself. And think of this goodness like a beautiful glowing gemstone that you can hold in your hands. Recall your own precious holy guide, that one you called forth at the beginning. See how happy they are with you. Grow your gratitude to them. Your reliance upon them. Ask them to please stay close. To continue to guide you and help you, inspire you. And then offer them this gemstone of goodness. See them accept it and bless it. And they carry it with them right back into your heart. See them there, feel them there. That love, that compassion, that wisdom available to you. it feels so good. We want to keep it forever. And so we share it. By the power of the goodness that we've just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. So use those 3 long exhales to share this goodness with that one person, to share it with everyone you love, to share it with every being you've ever heard of. See them all filled with happiness, filled with wisdom, filled with kindness. And may it be so. Okay, thank you so very much. Thank you, translators, for working so hard. Thank you, everyone, for studying so hard.
Thank you to Teacher Sarahni. Thank you
Yes.
for your wonderful teaching.
You're welcome. This is Monday.
Yes,
I'm
yes, yeah.
Thank you, teacher Sarahni. Thank you.
Good night.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Bye.
Mama Sarahni.
See you
Thank you.
Thursday.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Leave meeting. I'm leaving meeting. Bye-bye.